Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if you haven't been here before, you won't yet know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business or your sales and marketing career, providing, of course, what you need to be successful in your business or your sales and marketing career is to know much more about sales and marketing and be motivated to implement it much more effectively in your business, because that is what's going on here. I'm here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. I'm pulling in anyone I can find with experience relevant to you being successful in your business through the Talk Marketing series. We are reviewing the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. And if all that sounds interesting to you, you should know that every other week we bring in Melanie Farmer, the concierge of Crazy Might Work, and we look at the marketing news and we speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your business or in your career. So if all of that sounds interesting or useful, you should like, share, subscribe, comment, get involved, because that will give us the motivation to carry on. Today is marketing news. So we do have the concierge of co-creation at Crazy Might Work. It's Melanie Farmer. Good afternoon, Melanie Farmer.
Here I am, and with the most unhelpful title of all time, but I love watching you attempt to say it anyway. Thank you, Martin.
It is the least helpful in every aspect, except in the very rare, completely unimaginable instance where somebody in their business decides what we need is a concierge of co-creation and actually Googles, I can't believe there is another concierge of co-creation in the world. Do you believe there is?
I don't think so. That's partly the reason that's what I'm called. But I tell you what is bad for me is that my LinkedIn keeps on suggesting all these jobs as concierges. So if I wanted to, if anyone wants a job as a concierge, just ask me, because I do have a lot of suggestions.
Okay, you are messing with the matrix. That's what's going on, sister. You need to be a little bit more conformative. You need to fit in a little bit more. You need to be, you guys did pay for me to deliver some marketing advice for you. And I did tell you to be the thing that people are looking for. And I'm quite happy to tell you, no one's looking for a concierge of co-creation. I mean, it would be hard to describe what you do otherwise, like genius innovation type stuff. Genius innovator, maybe it's time for a promotion.
Yeah, that's interesting. The director of something, disruption. Let's see.
Yes. I think disruption's making its way into job titles now. Chief
Right,
disruptor and those kinds of things.
that's true. I feel
Interesting.
like there's a whole paper on that about it doesn't have to be disruption. It's more about create the future rather than disrupt it. You are
Yes.
actually disrupting the future when you create it, but
Yes.
the word disrupt suggests you're going to shut everyone else down, which is not necessarily, um,
The healthiest
not
thing.
not necessary. Like, feel free to do it, but it doesn't actually have to be the reason why you disrupt.
No, it doesn't. It's interesting. I've been delivering innovation and transformation in the last couple of weeks. I'm doing that again next week. I'm interested in all these topics, all these subjects. I think it's really, really interesting and useful. The fact of the matter is, you're not waiting for people to come and find you, are you? You're out there in the world doing all this great stuff. So you don't need to be what the world is looking for. But that does tie in a little bit with my stories this week, that idea of being the thing that people are looking for. So that's interesting. We normally have a little boast. Have you got a little boast for us this week?
Ooh, I got a new Toyota Corolla hybrid. Am I
Yeah,
allowed to
you
say
had that the last time we spoke.
that?
You can say
Still
brands, I think,
excited
yeah.
about
What's
it.
that?
Still excited about it. I've just discovered that all these cool things at the dash, so it looks like a spaceship. I'll give you a second one though. Is that we just were sharing the job of being an MC on the International Humans in Space Summit held in Sydney, which was amazing. Just people who are 3D printing pharmaceuticals for very bespoke purposes. Uh, there's the guy who's designing the search and rescue ambulance service on the moon. I now am very worried about lunar dust far more than Martian dust. So yeah, I mean, I could bore you about this stuff now because it was just so interesting.
Cool. That's excellent. Do I have a boast? I was working with, let's say, rather than teaching, a Saudi Arabian bank last week about innovation and transformation. And next week, I will be working with a telecoms company, talking to them about sales and digital transformation. So I've been quite busy actually working, which is a bit weird for me. It really is a bit weird. And I
I
think
think
now we
you got a pretty good rating, I believe, for your work.
they scored me 88 out of 100. I think that's good. I think that's good. But it's actually my lowest score this year.
Lowest score, 88.
Yeah, I think it's a bit weird how much I enjoy this thing and how much people enjoy me doing this thing. It's really cool. If anyone's interested to have me come talk about digital marketing or work with your people, digital marketing, transformation now, all those things, I'm really enjoying it. I'd really love to come and do that wherever you are, whoever you are. Okay, cool. So that was a shameless brag and a shameless little pitch. That's what I do. We're not here for shameless brags and pitches. We are here for the news. What's caught your attention, Melanie Farmer?
Oh, look, these are sort of little things. There's so many things going on with Twitter, of course. So it's time to get the popcorn and enjoy the show.
Yes.
So I am doing Twitter at the moment, but I quite like the ins and outs of what they're doing with identifying official accounts, which of course was one of the big signals of value of Twitter as a platform in the lead up to its purchase. So, the idea of putting on little blue check marks to say that you are official and then having little grey check marks to say that you're official, as in you might be President Biden, so a government official.
Okay.
Um, I think it's really interesting because you have to pay for this check mark, $8. I have very mixed feelings about the idea that you have to pay to be recognized as official. But I also look as a user of Twitter, I'm grateful to be able to kind of that gives me some comfort. But but then again, it's only who's paying $8. I think it's a really it seems like a lot of money if I'm honest, really for that.
Okay. Well, let's
Just
not go too far into it because I've got a view, obviously, so we will talk about it. What's your
yeah.
other story?
Other story is the AI models. So replacing the need for an actual model, Movio's move to actually you can create your own artificial intelligence model who can endorse your product,
Wow.
which is really super creepy in my in my opinion, and bad news for anyone who had a modeling career that they now have to abandon because AI has
Oh.
taken it.
Yeah, there's always ups and downs with these things, isn't there? I've got two stories. My first story is about Airbnb, and
Mm-hmm.
what they are saying is that um, sales are up 29%, and it's interesting because they've got a theory as to why that is. So that's one of my stories. The other story is that. Okay, that's good. I've just highlighted the whole story. You know, I've got this highlighter that I'm playing with. My other story is that hospitals have been warned about using third party analytics tools from people like Meta with the Meta Pixel, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, all these kinds of things. So I'm interested to talk about that. So now we have to prioritize these stories. I think Movio with the AI models should be last, is my feeling. I think that's the least impactful story. Twitter is probably the biggest story, so maybe that should go first. And then, so we'll sandwich your stories with my stories. I think Airbnb, everyone wants to know how to be more successful, and then the hospitals thing. So we'll do that. So, what's going on then over there at Twitter, at that Twitter?
Well, putting aside the other 10 stories we could talk about with Twitter, where he's walking in and saying, you lose your job, you lose your job, you lose your job. That aside, this is about actually verifying accounts. So they are charging money, $8 per month to verify. This gives you the opportunity to buy and then therefore display a prestigious blue check mark. So
Yes.
I just think that is a lot of money just to say I'm real in your platform. That's my opinion. I just think it's shocking and completely offensive. Um, you know, even if you are real. So if you go, yeah, actually, if you scroll down, you'll see this is Esther Crawford's. A little bit further down, you'll see um, what it looks like. So you're basically getting a little almost hexagon star type of thing that's blue, and then they're putting a grey tick or a grey flag, sorry, for those that are official accounts, i.e., government bodies and so forth. So it's actually identifying accounts as you scroll through your Twitter feed uh, through this process. So there's speculation in this publication, Social Media Today, that um, it's Elon's way of having a bit of a dig at journalists who are not getting a grey mark. They've got to pay to have a blue tick and all that. So their views are not as valuable as anybody else's. More valuable, I should say. So here's Esther, and then if I think you scroll down, you'll see her tick because she actually did she. Sorry, no,
She's
she
paid
does.
it or she hasn't paid it?
She hasn't. She hasn't. Sorry, tell her. But I think I sent you another link, which takes you to Joe Biden as an example, because his account um, presents you with a a nice blue check mark, so you know that that's actually him, and then a little grey flag to say United States government official. But I feel like this whole idea of you know charging you to declare that you're official. I mean, if you're not official and you pay, what happens then? So I have many questions about this whole thing. I
Okay.
just feel like it's going to, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, can't I just go in and say I'm Biden, here's $8, and then next thing you know? So I just wonder how robust that system of verifying those people who are paying money to have a check mark.
Okay. Well, let's think about it logically. There will at least be budget to make that a robust system. You know.
True. With that,
So yeah. So the way I'm understanding it, I mean, I am enjoying now. 2 weeks ago, the time before last when we spoke about it, I was sick of it. But now it's happened, I'm really quite enjoying it. And famously, people are reacting to this idea that you have to pay $8 a month. Um, let's think about that a little bit. I mean, I could talk about this all day. What I said 2 weeks ago is this is one of the things that they will do. AOC, Alexandra Ortez, whatever her name is, AOC. Let's call her AOC. She tweeted saying something like, "This is an abomination. It's blah blah blah," and Elon Musk replied, "Thanks for your feedback. Now pay the $8." So I kind of like it. There are some blue check people. So it's changing, is what's going on. It is changing. I mean, you can't say it's not changing. So some blue check people have done what you said, and they basically passed themselves off as Elon Musk. So they changed their name to Elon Musk and have now been banned from Twitter because it's always been against the rule to pass yourself off as somebody else. So everyone's trying to be a bit clever about this. I think it has to happen. Like, if people are putting their money in their pocket to say, I am this person, there's nothing more real than that. Do you know what I mean, necessarily? If they are passing themselves off as someone else, or if there's a public figure, they get this other flag, check, whatever it is. I'll tell you what struck me. Well, one thing, if we put it the other way around, we say, okay, is it worth $8? The question then becomes, can Twitter deliver $8 of value a month? You know, and I think it could. I'm thinking about, like, a month ago, we were talking about how they were making money off child abuse material, and we were both saying we might cancel our accounts. Now I'm thinking I might pay the $8 because I'm seeing that what this does is it cleans up the major issue. The major issue is that the thing's full of bots. So if you only want real people, get them to pay $8 a month. It's enough to verify, not verify, the verification is something else, but that it is a person, because spammers aren't necessarily going to pay, what is that, $96 a month to spam people. So it fixes the issue. And the thing that occurred to me is it's not very much money but the thing is, it's such a big change, it might not make sense like this. There are something like 220,000 blue checks already. So if it's 8 times 220,000, it's $1.6 million a month, which when you're running it is $12 million a year. But what do we think their ad sales is? 4.4 billion. So it doesn't seem to me like it's very much money. But if I could get a verified account for $8 a month, I think I could get value out of Twitter if it was $8 a month, and it wasn't just rammed full of these things. There's other things that are going on that are maybe more interesting. Like apparently he's brought in his 50 top programmers to sort it out. He's laid off half the staff. They were employing, is it 7,500 have been laid off? In which case, why were there 15,000 people there? What on earth are they doing? What on earth are 15,000 people doing? And also,
they were moderating.
Yes, and now because they're not required now, because now they're just going by the First Amendment. Do you know what I mean? And it's free speech unless you're causing harm. So I think that's interesting. I saw him interviewed today on a short, I think Instagram, and he's saying, why don't we have a super app? Like the Western world doesn't have a super app. Like in China, everybody lives on WeChat, and it is their chat service, and it is their broadcast service, and it is their payment service, and it is all their stuff. And so basically saying that's what we're going to do. We're going to make Twitter into a WeChat. So I think people are way too sensitive. I think people are way too polarized. So you either love Elon Musk or you hate Elon Musk. I am sitting in the middle. I'm a marketer. And like I said 2 weeks ago, I think it'd be really cool if we actually had a usable social media platform. Because it seems to me that Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of them have been delivering much less value than they possibly could. So I think there's real opportunity for improvement here. And I think this is like an interesting step in the right direction. It just doesn't seem like enough money for me. Like if it's $1.6 million a month, I mean, it's huge money for you and I, but I mean, now if they only employ 7,500 people, then maybe, it is a significant amount of money. I don't know. That's what I think. I'm thinking about paying the $8.
Whereas I'm very annoyed that, let's say I'm a big fan of Coca-Cola and I would like value from Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, my favorite company, has now got to pay Twitter, who I'm not a massive fan of, some of their money for something that should be free, in my opinion. Why is Twitter
It's
charging
$8 a month, Melanie Farmer. You and I are not going to miss $8 a month. And
some people will, and that I'm talking about.
Not people who are verified. Not people who are currently verified. Nobody who's currently verified is going to miss $8 a month, including AOC.
That's not actually the point. It's not the point.
But that's what the point you were making.
I know. My point is that not the actual figure, but the fact that there should be even $1. Like, why? I think that Twitter, who the hell are you? You are supposed to be a company that is delivering me. So when I go on there, Coca-Cola's Coca-Cola. And now you are charging my favorite company and whatnot. You're charging people money, but that's your job. Why are you just milking your customers for something you should do, you bastards? I'm really angry about it. Honestly, it makes me angry. Because it's a bit like, put it this way. Imagine that I was a greengrocer. I'm selling you stuff. You come along and then you're buying. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but it's like, and then I'm going to charge the people giving me the apples to be able to say it's their apple. It's like, that's my job, is to verify that apple before I sell it to someone. My job.
Okay.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, take some responsibility for your own platform. That's what I think. I think it's like you shouldn't be charging these people. I think
Okay.
it's important, and I like that there's a check mark. That's cool because I go, okay, well that must be Coca-Cola. But I also think, how robust is that if people can still, like, there's always a way to fake a check, and then you've just now got a perpetuated untrustworthy check mark. So I'm not confident in that either with their
Okay.
track record.
It's great to see you so animated. I really like it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that pissed me off. I tell you.
Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit and see if we can assuage some of this rage that's coming from you, Melanie
Yeah, it's
Farmer.
all rage, isn't it?
Okay. So you've heard the phrase, if you're not paying, you are the product. Have you heard this?
If you're not, no, I have not heard that. If you're not paying
Oh,
you,
so this
what?
is like behind the whole. This is the social media business model. Is like they give it to you for free, and then they essentially sell you as data to their advertisers. So I don't think. I mean, I did say this was coming 2 weeks ago. You didn't seem to be so animated about it then. I mean, but the thing
I
is, yeah. So
think that
if you're not paying, you are the product. This is like a commonplace statement. So I think the idea that if you can get $8 of value out of it, then pay the $8. And if you can't, then don't. And it's like that is business practice. That's the way the world works. The thing I think about it is, what's the thing I think about it? Nobody who's on Twitter, I think, can't afford to pay $8. And you don't have to pay the $8. You just won't be verified. But then what will happen is clearly they're going to have
yeah.
categories. What's that?
If I'm Coca-Cola, I'm not going to be on
Why are
Twitter.
you worried
And
about Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola are not short of $8 a month. And
that is
Coca-Cola are
not
probably
value.
one in the top five most odious brands on the planet. They're not delivering
Right.
any value to anyone.
But they have no option. You can't be on there without a check mark on your
No,
Coca-Cola,
you
can you? So
can
you're forced to pay this guy Elon who
if
doesn't
you're a
need the money.
brand.
You have to. You have to. You're forced. It's not an option. It's a non-option. So that's what I don't like. Is there's no choice. It's not fair. You
No,
have to.
it's
You
not like
can't.
you can't be on Twitter now without this blue check
Yes.
mark.
No, I understand that. But if you want to be Coca-Cola, as an example, right? But any big brand, you have to have a check mark. You can't be, because if you're
Why
on
have
there
you
without a
chosen the
check mark,
worst example, Coca-Cola? Go back
okay,
to the greengrocer. If the greengrocer is getting $8 a month of value out of Twitter and he can afford to pay the $8, then he should pay the $8. And if he can't, he can continue using it without being verified. So that's
it's
not,
not
I
about
don't think
the idea.
it's, what's
It's
that?
just mandatory. It's mandatory. It's not. It's
It's not
compulsory.
mandatory.
Coca-Cola, as an example, can any of these? And it's not about the money. It's the fact that they don't actually have the option because there is no one at Coca-Cola marketing going, no, why should we have to pay? Well, now you're on there unverified, therefore you're absolutely not Coca-Cola, and people will just whatever. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
basically forced. You're forced, mandatory, and I don't like someone. No business should say to another business, "It's this or out." Like, I don't think that's, unless they're like illegally whatever they're doing illegally. But you know what I mean? It's not. It's not. It's not
I
an
don't
option.
know what you mean. Because when you went and bought your shiny new Toyota, they didn't give
Yeah,
it to you for free. They said it's either pay the money or don't have it. This is actually business. So
very
this
different.
freemium model is a new thing. Like there were no businesses giving anything away for free 20 years ago.
Yeah,
This
that's a
freemium
good
model
point.
is just
If you think of it that way as a premium, you need to. You can do this thing, and then you now look real, and people can trust that you're real.
it's not that you're
That
not real. It's that you are committed and paying for the service that you get. And it's quite simple. You don't have to be on Twitter at all. You don't have to have this verification, and you don't have to have the grey tick either. It's like
I
if you're getting
wonder.
value out of it, pay the $8. Like, what do you get for $8? And the amount I think it is important because if they'd said it was $150, okay. If they were saying it's now $1,800 a year to use Twitter, okay, that'd be a different thing. But what we're talking about here is a couple of coffees. And if you don't get the value out of being verified in that way, don't do it. They're not going to kick you off. But now what they're going to have is they're going to have 3 tiers of participants. So they're going to have people who are completely unverified. No one has any idea. People might suspect that they're bots. I would say that those accounts are probably more at risk. You're going to have a whole raft of accounts where they're going to be paying $8. So at least you know that they've got some money in the game. So those are maybe a better class of participant. And then at the top, you've got what you've got now, which is these new grey flag or grey checks. I really am struggling to see why you're in such a mood about this.
Yeah.
Because they're not being forced. Like Coca-Cola are spending billions of dollars every year on protecting their brand. So if you're saying brands now have to find another $8 a month or $96 a year to protect their brand, if they're a brand, they can afford $96. It's not
Yeah.
like they're saying, Coca-Cola, we are going to demolish your brand unless you pay us this $96. It's like, do it or otherwise. I think the decision wasn't that hard for Coca-Cola to make if they
I
decided to
agree.
do it.
I agree. I agree that it wasn't hard. I'm not annoyed about $8. I think it's like, of course, you should have it and blah 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 and value. Yes. What I am saying is, I don't think I feel like it's this company has made something happen that produces a mandatory spend, non-optional spend. I hear what you're saying about, well, they wouldn't spend it if it's not value this. However, at any of these big brands, they can't not be on Twitter because someone's going to be on Twitter being them. And I don't at the moment trust that Twitter has it all together in terms of, like, we are not going to, you can't be Coca-Cola unless you are Coca-Cola. You can't be this if what. So I feel like they are just going, well, let's get their money. Let's get their money where their mouth is. And if they say they're Coke, they've got paid to be Coke. And it's just as an example, right? But any brand, and that's just one everybody knows.
Why not AOC? At least AOC's like
Yeah,
nice to people.
great, let's do it. Greenpeace, but wouldn't I rather, if I'm donating to Greenpeace, I'd rather that $8 went and feed somebody than bloody they have to pay this fee mandatory because they
They
can't
don't
not pay
have
it.
to pay it
No, because I would be if they're
because they
not.
need to protect their brand.
So if I come to the Greenpeace site and I don't see a check mark, I won't trust what is on there because I'm going to think that's not
Well,
Greenpeace. And
that's because you've got a suspicious mind.
that's what people are going to start to do.
Yes.
And that's going to be bad news for poor old Greenpeace who have to pay the money to avoid that result. And I think that's unfair to them.
I don't
just
think
it's
even
unfair.
Greenpeace are going to miss $8 a month. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
Twitter has been a steaming pile of toxicity for how long? 15, 20 years. We spoke about what they make in ad sales, $4.4 billion a year. I was astounded. I spent a lot of my career, my early career certainly, selling advertising. Twitter was the worst advertising proposition in the world. It was lucky to be making that money. So there is going to be change if somebody's going to fix this. I think he is taking responsibility. I think he's been there 20 minutes, and I think the proposition is wholly reasonable. I am excited that now there might be a social media platform that will actually benefit me and my customers. I'm excited about that. I'm thinking I'll support you with $8 a month, not because I get anything like $8 a month of value out of Twitter currently. I probably do already because we post things there, we get traffic, etc. But because I'd like to support the idea that somebody at last, even though if it's only Elon Musk, and I don't particularly enjoy Elon Musk, somebody stood up for the first time in about 15 years and said, I have a positive vision for this platform. And if the start of it is anyone can be verified now, because before you had to be ordained. So anyone can be verified now. You just pay $8 a month. And there is no better verification for me. They're saying here it's not really verification. If you've got my bank account details, that's verified. I'm not going to be on there spreading hate speech or racism or any of those things that people do on these platforms if you've got my bank account. Because if you've got my bank account, you 100% know who I am. I think it's wonderful that you are so animated about this. But I honestly don't...
clarify, I love the check mark. What I don't love is the sense of mandatory. I don't like that about anything, but I do love the check mark. So I'm just trying to say I do love the direction in every other way. I love that he went in and his heads are rolling and he's fixing stuff and he's bringing in his people. I love the grey check mark. Lots of people don't. I think it's very helpful. It actually means for me as a consumer, I can really engage and understand, go, right, that one's check mark, that one. I love it. All I'm concerned about is that I feel like they're I feel like how am I supposed to necessarily two things? One, do I trust the way that they're arriving at the giving a person a check mark, or can it easily also still be
But this
before?
isn't the check mark, is it? Because what they've done is they've actually just introduced another tier. So the check mark that has always been the check mark is going to be there. It's going to be this grey flag thing. Now, that's if you are a politician, celebrity, blah, blah, you're still verified in that way. And now there's a whole raft of other people like you and I who could also
Yeah,
say, look, for $8 a month, I want to communicate that I'm an actual person. Because the
yes.
issue is the whole thing is drowning in bots. And it's somewhere between 5%, my estimation is 50%. Somewhere in between that is absolute junk. And you have to wade through that junk to get to anything
I
interesting or
agree.
useful. So if
Take
it fixes that
responsibility.
issue, then it's worth $8 a month to me.
Maybe, but I do feel like they've got enough money. Fix it yourself. Don't be asking
He's
your
just
customers.
spent $64 billion.
He has, and it's that's the
Maybe
boundary.
that's it. Maybe he hasn't got any more money to do that.
Could
The
be.
thing is, how else are you going to do this? How else are you going to do this? If you're not going to ask people to pay, how are you going to fix it? This is the quickest, most efficient way to do it.
Maybe that is, and I know that the reason reading some of the press about it is that it's actually bank account details means that we know who said X and what, and if somebody is going to pay and put their account details down, then we can absolutely say that's an identity
Yes,
versus random whatever. So
yes,
that's but they'll only give you those details if you are actually doing a situation with charging and seeing a transaction take place. So I
yes.
see that is a solution, but I do feel like I just think if I don't like the idea, for example, that my favourite charities. Let's say I donate, for example, $8 a month to WaterAid, which I happen to donate to WaterAid,
Yep.
and I have mixed feelings about them giving it to Twitter. As an example, like if you looked at it that way, that's where I'm like, well, I'd rather they gave it to blimmin' put in a well somewhere.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
there is a cost of being business, and WaterAid is a brand, and they have to protect their brand. And $8 a month isn't so much. And I mean, especially if what does this do? Like the conversation we were having 2 weeks ago or a month ago, where advertisers were pulling out of Twitter because their adverts were running alongside images of children being abused. Maybe
yeah, I wonder.
that is the way to fix this issue.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do wonder as well if like what's going to happen with those ads. Are they still like? I mean, I don't know, right? But is that gonna surface because they weren't paying or what? Like, I don't know how those because if it
Well, the
presumably
thing
they have
is,
an advertiser who's paid. They're not just on there getting free advertising, so they already have those
they
people.
pay. Yeah, 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 they pay.
Who the heck's that? That's like yeah. So they step up and get rid of those people. Why are
Yes,
you
yes,
allowing?
yes. So now
Yeah,
you've got three tiers. So you've got the verified, which we always had. Those people, unless they do something, hate speech, racist
individual.
speech, harm speech, whatever you want to call it, something that's not constitutional. It's defined what free speech is. Providing they don't do that, they're golden. You have the middle tier who've committed. We know exactly who they are. Probably wouldn't want to do that anyway because now they're invested in Twitter. But we know exactly who they are, so they probably won't do it. So now what they've done is they've got these three tiers of people. It's the non-payers that you now have to police because the non-payers are the ones who aren't committed, aren't known. They're the only ones that are still anonymous. So then you put it's going to be the majority probably still. But now you've already identified where they're likely to be. So I think it will resolve all sorts of issues. And I think the only thing that blows my mind still is that you don't understand that it's mandatory that you pay businesses for services. It's rare that you get a service out of a business for no money. And if you're not paying them, then you are the product. They're selling your data. So the thing is, you've blown this because we were supposed to do this in 40 minutes this week. We spent half an hour arguing about whether they should pay $8 for Twitter or not. Here's my last word on it. If it fixes the issues, if it actually provides us with a social media platform that could be valuable to me when I'm marketing myself, I'll pay the $8 a month. Absolutely happily. Absolutely happily. And I think this landscape has been devoid of anyone with any idea of how better to deliver value Look at Mark Zuckerberg. He hasn't got a clue how to fix his issues. Look at Google. They haven't got a clue. Look at LinkedIn. They haven't got a clue how to fix their issues. Here we have a new broom. He's coming in. He's saying, okay, you want to be some kind of verified, it's $8 a month. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it. But if you want to do it, then it's $8 a month. And all the people who are verified anyway, the 220,000 of them, they just go onto this grey flag thing anyway. That's what I think.
Excellent. We should move to your next story, I think.
Okay, let's move to my next story then. Because these are tied in, they're always kind of tied in. So here's the story. It's all highlighted, which isn't particularly useful. Okay, so Airbnb says its search-averse marketing strategy is working. Airbnb posted its most profitable quarter to date, attributing part of its success to its pivot away from search marketing and toward brand campaigns. The company's revenues were up 29% year over year, performing above analyst estimates. They decided not to do search marketing back in 2019. This has meant an overall reduction in ad spending, which fell 28%. According to the CEO, 90% of traffic comes directly, not through the search engines. And so this is interesting. There's a mark that shows that digital spend, advertising spend is, our travel ad spend is pretty consistent. The difference is this one. What's this? The percentage change. Travel search ad spending. So you can see it's climbing again. What's interesting to me about this is, well, this kind of ties in with the other thing. I'm a digital marketer, teach digital marketing. You know, I've been telling people forever, this is just about buying customers. When Jonas used to come and have these conversations with me, he was saying that they're moving also towards like a branded thing. Tom Breeze, like 18 months ago, was saying to me, look, it's going to go back to branded because the data is going to get so much less valuable. It seems to be happening. I'm kind of interested. The interesting thing for me is the paradox. I say this all the time. I really believe it. These platforms could provide unsurpassed value to businesses that are looking to be proactive with their marketing. They could, if they were focused on this thing, they could be delivering extraordinarily cost-effective customers to businesses all over the world. Every business that wanted to engage. They don't. They've gone missing. They've left their lane vacant. You know, so that's maybe why I'm excited about what's going on at Twitter, because at least it seems like something is happening in terms of idea and, I don't know, innovation and customer centricity. So there's a particular issue about search and travel advertising, which is Airbnb, not Airbnb, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, all of these things. It's all bought and sold. It's actually, what is it? It's a closed market these days. You know, you are never going to pay to be the top of a search anywhere in the world, even for the name of your business. So I like this. I think hopefully this will be an indicator to these brands that they could and should be delivering more value, because actually they're not the only game in town. And if you need to be an established brand like Airbnb to maybe pull it off entirely, but you haven't got to hope if you're a local brand. If you're a local hotel, search doesn't work for you at all. So they've sold it wholesale to TripAdvisor, Booking.com, those other ones. And maybe this is the result. It's just not actually one of those. A brand on that scale has said, no, we're not even going to play in that market. What do you think?
We did some work with Hotels Combined a few years ago, and I think they're a really innovative brand, I think, and they're hiring someone like Crazy by Work to come and work with them, but they really added very different value, and I think Airbnb do as well. And I would say with Airbnb, they are now at the age for a brand that people would go direct. Whereas when they started, they would have been like, who are they? So I think there's a time and a place. I wouldn't kick off in year one expecting everyone to find you, you know. So there is a journey, I think, with brands. And the other thing is that although they are attributing their 29% growth to this switch from search to brand marketing, we have to remember that for 2 years no one could travel, and all of a sudden the world is starting to go back, which is what happens with any pandemic, and then we all travel. because we've missed out for some time. So I just wonder how much is attributable to the fact that we just didn't in 2019. That was the end of travel for 2 years, and then of course it's gone 29%. You could have done nothing and seen it go up 29% in
Yeah.
this year. You know what I mean? So I do wonder how much is directly attributable and how much they might, yeah. I'm not saying that it hasn't. It's not because of that, but I do look at the context within which those decisions are made and the timing of those decisions anyway, with the growth that's happening in the industry across the world. So, but they've made some very smart decisions during the pandemic where they were selling, like, for example, online cooking lessons and things. They're very good at pivoting and saying, what value do we have? And to your point, if you're not paying the other product,
Yeah.
they really did leverage their assets effectively when they could have just said, no one's traveling, that's the end of us. They doubled down and said, well, what can we give people when they're locked up? Well, we can give them access to these local people in other sides of the world, and they can learn to cook or speak a language or whatever it is that there is to offer. So yeah,
Yes.
I also hear what you're saying. I know Hotels Combined were actually, they ended up being a place that would direct people, like they got a lot of business from booking.com in the end and others, when really, so they switched from being someone who you would find via somewhere to being someone who you would, they became booking.com in a way
Yeah. Yeah.
themselves. And part of what they did in adding value was that they worked very closely with customers. Things like, if your flight is cancelled, they would know your preferences and only show you stuff that fit your preferences. It's a very basic thing, but it created a lot of loyalty. For example, if you really didn't like kids, they're not going to recommend you like the local hotel where there's a lot of families. It's family friendly. That and also near the airport. So where if your flight's cancelled, you're probably going to get back on it soon. So we're not going to send you off to the other side of the city. And so it was a lot more instant, customized, what you need when you need it, based on your interests. And
Yes.
and that wasn't something that others were doing. So for example, with Booking.com, I use it a lot, but I wouldn't say it knows my preferences or has even asked me what they are. So it just shows me random things of places I never intend to go, and it's my job to filter. Whereas Hotels Combined is a lot more, you're going to love this. Now, it's not to say that you can't say, take off my preferences and show me everything, but it already knows where I am at budget wise, what I'm likely to enjoy and not enjoy, and
Yes.
based on my ratings and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's it it's interesting because I mean what these aggregators have done, booking.com, TripAdvisor, the other ones, so they've won something about an owl, I don't know. They helped
yeah,
themselves to 15% of those markets. That's what they did. So the hotel, the accommodation will pay 15% commission to those aggregators, and um, and the search engines have sold it to them. So you're right. The only way you can market yourself, I mean, search is just not available to you. You can only do like the super cute local marketing and hope that people experience you that way, because they're not going to find you unless you're on booking.com, because you're never going to be at the top of the search engine. I don't think anywhere in the world you're going to get to the top of the search engine if you're searching for any kind of accommodation above booking.com or those
even
things.
in Hilton, they're like, page 10
Yeah, 100%.
because you've got all those search engines ahead of you.
Yeah, and also for the name of your business, for the
Yeah,
name of your
absolutely.
business. So if you are
Always
Happy
page,
Villas, Happy Villas, I don't know,
yeah, Bali,
Phuket,
yeah.
then they will outrank you for the name of your business. And so this is then when you start. I mean, this is when you really question, well, can we even invest in brand marketing? Because if people search for us, they're going to find booking.com and they're going to be given 100 different options, and if they use us, they're going to take 15%. I don't. Yeah, I think they could be offering much more value. I don't think they should have sold out to the aggregators in that way. Um, I really hope that more brands start to think about if they need to be spending money on these digital channels. And if they don't, then maybe open it up for the rest of us. Do you know what I mean? And I hope that Google or the other search organizations will get the message and actually make it more user friendly, like
I mean,
advertiser friendly and actually consumer friendly.
I want to go and find Happy Villas Phuket. I would rather click on their site directly because, in the context of the last couple of years, several times I've tried to book something and only to discover they've gone bust or they're
Yes.
completely different offering.
Yeah.
And so, what I find on, for example, Booking.com, it's of course this is bound to happen, and I actually forgive them a bit, give everyone a bit of a break because this has been an extreme situation. But stuff's out of date. It's not right. The pictures are different. They're renovated, for example, and you're
Yeah.
like, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not what I looked at 2 years ago, and the price has tripled. What's going on there? So once you dig in, so I have in the last sort of few weeks been trying to find the original, like Happy Villas Phuket, for example, in the different categories that I'm looking for, and they're like on page 3 or something. And part of that can be the amount of budget they have to optimize their own web
Yeah. Yeah.
page. But also, it is the time when everyone else is like double down and you just. But I'm like digging, go, where's their actual website? I can't even find it. So that's where it is frustrating for someone who wants to go and see, like, are they still in business? What's actually going on there?
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah, I
this.
think it's broken, and I think it needs to be fixed. And maybe if brands start voting with their feet, then like, why doesn't the Hilton just not? It's. I think at that level, it's lazy. If like the Hilton could actually go to war with these aggregators and say, look, we're not going to pay you 15% commission. They've probably
We're
done a
not
deal where
listening.
they pay 5% or something ridiculous. But then that's
Maybe
your total cost of sale. So maybe I don't know. I don't know. Should we go on to my third story?
Hilton was paying them $8 a month. Do you think that was what was
I
happening?
think Hilton could afford $8 a month. I'm a bit worried about you worrying about $8 a month. Do you need $8 a month?
I
Do
just
you
bought
need
a new
$8
car.
a month, dear? I can let you have $8 a month if you really need it.
Okay. Well, I'm doing well. That's going to be my break. I've got Martin Henley to pay me $8 a month for no reason.
Okay, good. All right, my next story. This is the next story. I feel like a bit of an idiot about this, I'll be honest with you. Okay, so it's coming from MedCity News. This is where I go to for my marketing news. Hospitals should be wary of using Metapixel and other third-party analytics tools. ECRI recently issued an alert warning hospitals about the cybersecurity risks associated with the use of third-party analytics tools such as Metapixel, Google Analytics, and Adobe Analytics. When providers install these tools on their websites and patient portals, they may be exposing patient data, which tech companies can use to target medical-related ads to consumers as they browse the internet. This exposed patient data may be misused to tailor advertisements based on consumers' medical conditions. These inappropriately targeted advertisements could push unproven treatments and lead patients away from seeking appropriate care, according to the alert. Exposing patients' sensitive information could also result in fines, legal action, and patient distrust of providers, the alert pointed out. The issue I have with this is, of course, this is what they're doing. And it never occurred to me until I read this article. It's like, so what we do, Google Analytics, for example, I've never quite got the fuss about Google Analytics in terms of privacy, because all we see is the IP address. Now, the IP address might refer to, might be the IP address of a company. So, for example, you can buy IP Finder type services and you can see who it is, but you don't get to know who it is in that company. It's someone in that company was looking at your ad or your website or something. So I've always never really particularly got the issue. Like the European Union are going after Google Analytics hard, but of course what they're doing is they're tagging people with cookies. So when they come on your website, it's like, so for example, my one customer is a metal supplier. So when they go on their website, they're like, okay, well, this person's interested in metal. When somebody buys an ad, they're going to get an ad from us. Do you know what I mean? So this for me is more we're creating websites, we're putting analytics on websites to market our company more effectively. Do you know what I mean? Not to provide ad targets for the social media companies. And of course, this is what's going on. So because you're not paying for it again, maybe they'll say it's fair game. But I don't create a website and put Google Analytics on it because I want people to be more aware of my competitors. I do it because I want to be more successful. So now my view of these platforms is now diminishing at both ends. They're not adding value when I'm an advertiser particularly well. And actually, when I am just, okay, so this is where it really gets meta, is where I pay to have people, I pay Google to have them come on my website. And then Google's like, oh, those people are interested in that. We'll advertise to them more. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I don't know what the phrase is. They're eating both ends of the spaghetti.
yeah, yeah.
And in a not particularly useful or valuable way.
Especially like that effectively taking your visitors' data for their own end or something.
Yeah, that becomes their product. Like the people who
Yes.
visit your website become their product to sell advertising to. And
Yeah.
obviously, this being medical is the worst case because now they might get to know something about people's medical conditions. Well, let's not pretend this person with an IP address has Googled this thing, so Google knows what it is. Do you know what I mean? They have then gone through to your website. Google knows exactly where they are on your website. They know what they're looking for. They know all the other searches they did that day, that week, that month, that whatever. So this is how.
Mm.
What are they doing? They're eating the. What are they doing? What's
Well,
the
and
phrase where you're attacking something from both sides at once? Burning both ends of the candle. No.
are they cannibalizing? It's not quite.
Cannibalizing. Yes.
Is it?
Cannibalizing. So again, the objective isn't to deliver value for their customers. The objective is just to make as much money as they possibly can. Because I would argue both of those business models are perfectly valid, but the most valuable way is when you empower your customers to be more successful so they've got more money to spend with you. That is like, if you're going to be a smash and grab company, that's good. Do that for as long as you get away with it, but it will be only for as long as you get away with it. If you're actually going to be delivering value for your customers, then the idea is that they will become more sustainable businesses. They will be your customer longer. They will have more money to spend with you. They will have more faith in you. They will invest more money in you. Do you know what I mean? So it's these companies right at the top of the food chain who are just grabbing every cent they possibly can, however they possibly can, with no regard whatsoever for the value that their customers take away from engaging with them.
I think this should have been our first story because what alarms me about it is that is the possibility of those who might actually suffer because they've invested in a product that hasn't been tested safely,
Yes,
um, and that's like a class action right there. If that's happening at scale, I wonder how you could trace that back. And but that's what you could see happening, right? There's a
yes,
kidney drug that's out there because all these people who are desperate are typing in kidney something,
yes,
and then some kind of a collection potentially of drugs for that are half baked are landing in everyone's Facebook feeds and so forth, and those people are going to try anything, and then now they're dead, or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
They've got
yes.
the worst case scenario, right? And and then we're going after the company who made the drug, and is that the right place to attribute all of the responsibility? I don't know, right? Because I think what I'm hearing is there's something else in there, which is well, there's also where the hospital, the origination of this data, how that data is getting out, and then how that's being used, and then how it's being used at a secondary and tertiary level. But then the results. So to me, it's a system, like it's an unvalued chain, if you like.
Yes.
I can see this data going through several gates unchecked and resulting in something that we can't understand how it got to that. We would naturally blame the people who've created said
Yeah, yeah,
drug.
yeah. But there's no mystery here. If these people have got these tools plugged into their websites, then we get to see so much of the data. This is the trade, which is useful. I think too much of the data, like there's lots of it that isn't useful. So this has always been my argument: is why don't they just collect 90% less? Now what I'm thinking is they might show us 50% of what they're actually collecting, because they've tagged these people on all their other journeys, so they've got a much better idea of who these people are than we have. And then essentially what we're doing is paying Google to develop the product being visitors to our website, to sell to other advertisers. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because when you advertise, it's a different gig. Like, okay, so let's say I don't advertise. Let's say I invest millions of pounds every year in producing amazing content to get people to my website. And then they come to my website and Google's like, oh, that's handy. They're interested in marketing. And then because then when people advertise, it's a fantastic offer. Get this free, get that free, some % off, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? And then they're probably, maybe they're as good, it doesn't matter. But now the people who found me, the people whose interest I sparked, are now in the market being savaged by piranha advertisers. Do you know what I mean? Like, get this free, get that free, get something else.
Yeah,
so this goes to my whole model, which is like, I'm here.
You've lit a fire somewhere else without my permission, and now you're taking my customers, and I'm paying you to do that. Yes. I don't think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel more angry about this than I do about flags and checkpoints.
I still don't understand why you're angry about flags. I really don't.
I don't think I'm angry anymore. I think you convinced me, but I'm angry about this. This has made me upset. I don't like it, and especially because of health. But it's obviously in many other places, but health is the place that. In fact, they were talking about it yesterday with space, because there's a very, you can't go to space unless you've told them exactly what everything, blood type, yada, 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 of course. But there's so much data you have to hand over, and you're monitored 24/7. Everything you put in your body in space is monitored, and the effect on every organ in your body is tracked. So I have very mixed feelings about that, but I understand why they're doing it, because they're saying, can other humans safely go up? And, everyone's a guinea pig. But you sign a waiver, like if I die and the ship blows up, it's all good. This data that you're getting from me about how my body's and how my eyes are responding to contraceptives when I take them, you can take all that, and then you can talk about it at a conference, no problem whatsoever. So it's very brutally transparent, health data in space. And so I'm hearing all that, and it's all very interesting, but I'm feeling like, I could just about now identify which of these women are having a bad reaction to contraceptives in space. And I wonder if who the hell am I? I don't know these people. So it's you have no privacy if you go to space. None.
Yeah, well, I think there's a trade-off in that as well. This is what also caught my attention about this story. Is here they're saying the ECRI, whoever that is, must be somebody, recently issued an alert warning hospitals about the cybersecurity risks associated with the use of third-party analytics tools. Now, the thing about that is that this isn't a cybersecurity risk, is it? Like, you are voluntarily giving these people data. What this is essentially is a fraud risk, where you're not getting quite what you signed up for, because you're not paying for it. Again, you pay for Adobe Analytics, to be fair. So a cybersecurity risk is one thing. That's where you get hacked and they take your data. They're not talking about anyone getting hacked here. They're talking about what's that?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that I agree completely.
Yeah, and the issue is a hospital might think, oh, it's a cybersecurity. We've got cybersecurity people. That's fine. This isn't cybersecurity. This is actually giving your data to rapacious corporations. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Who will use it however they see fit. I mean, we've spoken before, haven't we, about the regulations? Okay, it's interesting. It's interesting. That's the news. If we could do this next story in 4 minutes, we will have done this in under an hour, which is better than...
All right, we can do that.
Okay, cool. So this is your last story. It's also not the happiest story for the world, I don't think. What's going on here with Movio?
All right, this is in line with Halloween. All right, let's think of it that way. I think this is super creepy. Like you can create your own model. Um, and I quite like Movio as a brand. They're kind of cool. You're basically making movies and stuff, but what they've allowed you to do now is to create your own model who can endorse your branding and talk you through a product or whatever. And so it's as they say here, it's like a canvas style drag and drop interface, which you can see right up at the top there. And so you create this avatar, and this person is the spokesperson for your brand. So, so really, you could say, I would like a non-binary Afro-American something, and then it will just put it together, and you end up with a person. So, in one way, that is a much easier pathway to getting a model than actually auditioning and whatnot. And then you get these voiceover artists is all you actually need to kind of sell this character. They're very, very realistic, which is where I think it's sort of super creepy. And it looks like an actual person. I love this word deep fake. I'm like, so we've gone beyond fake now. We've got deep fake. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I don't actually have a bit. I mean, of course, it's going to happen. It's probably more likely the direction that we're going to go in terms of living in the metaverse than actually being in the metaverse is that we're going to create these characters and put them in worlds and whatever. Um, yeah, but
Yeah,
I just
I've got carried
you,
away because why
you
have I
think
got carried away?
you'd be diving into their Instagram feed, but they actually like consumers would be thinking that's an actual person and
Yes. Well,
whatever.
have you seen this fake Tom Cruise?
No, but I have seen the president, fake president, which was
Yes.
which was so realistic. So you
This
can
Tom
have
Cruise thing is insane. Like, you would not know. I mean, I thought the guy was just genetically Tom Cruise.
that's it.
So it is happening. I've got
Yeah.
views on AI. I don't really like it. My actual position is computers are good at some things. They're not good at intelligence. They're great with data. They're great with computation. They're great with all that stuff. What they don't have, for me, there's no such thing as artificial intelligence, because for me, intelligence is knowledge and sentiment and history and empathy and all of these things. My worry for the
Really?
world is that we are just going to sign off all authority now to this new higher power, which is artificial intelligence. And what we need to remember is that all of these computer programs were made by people like my mate Johan in South Africa, who was high on Red Bull and just drafting reams and reams and reams of code till 7 o'clock in the morning and going home every day before the boss came in and could check his work. Do you know what I mean? And objecting if ever his boss wanted to see what he was doing. So this is what's going on. And I wasn't particularly concerned because we spoke 2 weeks ago about the Mark Zuckerberg can't do legs in his metaverse.
Yeah.
But I've seen some things. Have you seen this new AI art? You put in literally like 3 words and it creates something beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I am a little bit more worried about it than I was even a month ago. The
Yeah,
thing
I
is,
think I don't know what we're doing with it. I think yet, like this, and I will say, yesterday we just had 2 days where a lot of stuff about AI came out with space, like interacting in space. Some of it is brilliant. Like I like the idea that if you're on the moon, AI is predicting the likelihood of where and when and how you're going to have an accident, and it's preempting that and getting organised, like in a way, right? So there's things that are very useful mathematically to to have computers applying that skill to. And then there are things like feelings that are not so helpful because they're not
yeah.
actually good at that.
Can I
Don't
just
throw
make my feelings clear that I don't necessarily believe anyone ever went to the moon or will ever go to the moon? Can we just make that clear? Don't introduce me to your friends at NASA. We might have a disagreement.
Okay, good. Noted.
Um, I think
Yes.
there's a use for this because everyone should be producing video, but not everyone is happy to be in front of the video. So, like 90% of people would not want to be on camera. So there is a definite use for it. But models, let's use models. Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing is, I think what we're going to do is AI ourselves out of meaningful activity, and activity that might get people fed in the future. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why
Because Mark, what
models
about
now
all
don't deserve to
influence?
have work.
The only reason I like it is like all the influences that would be out of work if you just did this. You just create your own little avatar influencer, and away you go, and you have it do anything and look any way you like, and then you can just
Yeah.
relax with your set of influences. And so I kind of feel like that'd be great. No more influences. All respect to influencers, but geez, enough.
No, I think it's a pretty low grade way to make your money to be an influencer now, I think.
I would rather not have a fake influencer either. I don't either way. I think, but I do like. I mean, yeah, I'm not. I'm not. It feels like Halloween to me because I'm like, this is super creepy.
Yeah.
Because it's so because it is passing itself off as a real model.
Yes. This might be
And
really handy for me for my WTF videos. Instead of me having to do the performance, I can just type them up and have an attractive female robot do
well,
the
you can
thing.
upgrade me, man. You can upgrade me. Just then you can have me agree with you all the way.
Yeah. That would be less engaging, though. That would be less fun. What do I think about it? I think I am actually now a little bit worried about this AI thing because, humanity doesn't have the best track record for developing technology for the benefit of mankind. Rather, it seems to have a track record of developing technology for the manipulation, exploitation of the masses for the very small minority of people. Don't understand
Yeah.
why they need more money, more control. Don't
You
understand.
know, I'm encouraged by a talk from a lady in biomimicry recently. She said just that our species is young. We every species on Earth goes through a competitive stage and realizes they're better off collaborating and going into their collaborative phase. Every species on Earth has been through that. The ones who have survived, the 1% of 100% of species, we only got 1%. That 1% who are still here are the collaborative ones. They do symbiotic. So, the forest, you look at how that operates and so forth. And this, but humans we only just showed up. So we are a species who have still in the competitive stage. So she said that it's like we're juvenile and then we're just growing up and we move into the collaborative stage. So she said everything we do, we consume, consume, consume. We realize we can't keep doing that and then we change tack. So ants of a billion, 100 million years ago, those ants aren't here anymore because all they did was like eat everything. Now we have ants who are a lot more collaborative and symbiotic, and they partner with species and they don't eat more than they need to. They, all that. So humans are just young as a species. She said this is what we're doing. We're just moving out of our competitive.
Well, that
That gives
is encouraging in a weird way. My concern is that we are being conditioned to be more lazy. Do you know what I mean? Everything is sold as a convenience now. And I think that there was real value in being inconvenienced previously. That's what I think. So my response to that argument is, I don't know. I don't know. I think humanity will destroy itself before it evolves to something that actually symbioses with nature. It's like,
well, certainly many species did exactly what you've described. They went compete, compete,
did
compete, and
they though? Do we know that?
yeah, because of the number of species on Earth, which is a very large number, 99% of them are extinct now. 99%. So the
Yeah, but it's not
1% is
because they ate themselves necessarily. It might have been changing environments. It might have been meteorites. It might have been
not,
all those
not
things.
yeah, but majority the remaining species have gone on a journey where they've moved out of, and all of them have done this. So I can send you the talk. It's really interesting how
Yes.
they move out of. It is a juvenile phase of competition, and then into collaboration, and then partnership. So, and she talks about this lady. She's now in her 80s, I think, but it's kind of her flagship discovery, I guess,
Yes.
is this thing about species moving through ages, each species, and the ones that are left, thankfully and encouragingly, are the ones that have left behind the competitive phase, which was the juvenile phase of the species. And so the ants we see today are not competitive ants. They are more symbiotic partnership ants. Even if they go around killing stuff and whatever, they have a limit. They don't eat everything. They don't kill everything. They kill what they need.
Yes.
They work and they, distribute resources and whatever. Let's
It's
see.
it's going to be fascinating now when because you've been accepted on your masters. Did you tell us that in this video?
I should have bragged about that.
You should have bragged about that, yeah. It's going to be really interesting. I would like to see that talk. Thank you very much.
All right.
I think we got to the end, Melanie Farmer. It was it was an hour and 10 minutes long, which is like back to where they were previously.
All right, well, let's pull it together.
Okay, it's only laziness that I want to get it done in 40 minutes because now I've got an hour and 10 minutes of transcription to do.
Well, it's not your fault. This is the species.
It's not my fault. I suspect it's Elon Musk's fault.
Yeah, he's got to be part of this problem, surely.
Super cool. You are an absolute legend. I'm going to put some time in your diary for a couple of weeks' time. We will do this again. Maybe there'll be some different news. Maybe someone else will be annoying you. I don't think I've ever seen you annoyed before. I've seen you annoyed twice today now.
Not like using swear words and everything. I know I got super passionate then.
So Australian.
All or nothing, that's what we are. We're either asleep or like angry.
Yes. Good. Okay, cool. Well, I feel like we've been introduced to a new version of the concierge co-creation at Crazy Might Work. See, I can say it. Thank you very much, Melanie Farmer. We will see you in a couple of weeks.
See you, man. Bye.
See ya. Bye.